everybody rise because court is now in session. You have your judge, me, that one guy D, and it's your boy, Q, our counselor, and we are here to bring you another incredible matchup on top of the already incredible matchup versus Arctic Wolves and four Dwights, one Locker. Are you ready to be here or what, Q?
I am excited, especially as a someone who considers themselves a part Dwight main. I always love low key cheering on Dwight, four Dwights, one Locker. Although I run with the Wolfpack quite a bit too, so this is going to be a tough one for me to watch because I feel like I have kind of both sides tearing in my heartstrings, but also, it's two great teams. I anticipate this matchup being pretty fire.
Oh, I agree. I have utmost respect for both teams as I have played against both. And I know players from both sides. So I definitely expect today to be, definitely some Goliath versus Goliath. No Davids in there whatsoever other than myself. So, it's definitely going to be a good one. And I'm excited, man. I mean, it's going to be hard to top that game we just witnessed, that matchup we just witnessed. So,
yeah, I mean, we talked about a 1 point difference in our last matchup, right? We talk about we might be able to see. It's going to be hard to top it, but I imagine it's going to be one of those, just like the last matchup, where we're not going to know who's the clear-cut winner until trial number 4. And also, like our last matchup, here today on this map, it's kind of a map we're not used to seeing in the competitive scene, right?
Well, let's see. The map that we are going to, definitely. I mean, I've seen it a couple times, but Sanctum of Wrath is no joke. It's very easy to maintain from a killer's perspective, providing you don't let that 3-gen get broken. But, I mean, it can go either way. A lot of killers are viable on this map because I don't think it's huge the way the gens are spread out. But Sanctum of Wrath, I mean, you're never going to know who's going to bring the wrath, the survivors or the killers, especially with these teams. Both teams are very strong on both sides.
Yeah, one thing that's really nice too on Sanctum here is it's a map that generally gives you a decent amount of symmetry, as far as you usually have 3 on the top side, 3 on the bottom side. Of course, you always are going to have the one top mid. And generally speaking, on both the top and bottom side, they're a decent spread all the way across. Sometimes you'll get a random RNG where it does place the 3 a little tighter together. But if you're doing a good job of splitting it, at least making sure you're getting a gen down on each side and then attacking that top mid, you're splitting this map up pretty quick.
Yeah, you just got to hope as a killer that you load in and you don't load up on top of that pyramid.
Yeah.
I mean, as we saw in that last trial, Corrupt never favored the killer on Torment. So this is a map where you're hoping you're spawning ground level and you're able to get a solid Corrupt and able to, maybe get a down or two and make your life, your job easier as a killer, right? But on that flip side, survivors are going to come to play and understand, like, hey, we can't get all these gens done. We've got to split up.
Yeah, and, you're talking about them needing to split up, and these are two teams, as you had mentioned before, right? These are teams that we have seen in competitive. I would say you've definitely seen 4 Dwights, 1 Locker in competitive longer. But Arctic Wolves here recently, I mean, they've been on a pretty good coming out party, showing a lot of dominance on both sides, both the survivor and the killer there. And, I can't wait to see what we got coming out here. What do you expect? You mentioned it is a pretty wide open killer pool, and both teams, I believe, have everything available other than the Arctic Wolves, I think, have already expired the Wraith. But who do you think we see come out here?
In my opinion, I think this is a perfect map for your typical 3-gen killer. So a doctor. We saw our first hag in that last matchup, so I could maybe see a hag play here.
Wish that upon us twice in a night. Come on.
I don't wish it. I hate it. But I know I'm sitting here thinking, wait, this map is the perfect place to use it. I personally would prefer a doctor. Doctor is one of my favorite killers, so I think Doctor could be really, really effective here with, shutting down the minimal loops that you do have on this map, realistically, right? You're able to save your S tiers because you don't need that mobility near as much. I don't know. I mean, really, your killers that you wouldn't typically see are viable on this map.
Yeah, definitely having a very wide range to everything. And one thing I would wish for, but I doubt we'll see, would be twins, because I would love to see a Victor pounce from the top, because it's always fun to just watch the highlight. But the only reason I say I doubt we see that is because if I'm not mistaken, I do believe Solar Blazer has already used the twins once. And the twins being a stronger killer, I don't think you would want to expire them this early in the season either, right?
Yeah, I mean, twins are definitely more for a larger map, I would say, because you're able to pressure two areas at one time in a sense, right? So to use it on a map, I think at this size and like the gen layout, because like when you think of your symmetrical maps, right, you're thinking of your ARPs or
Right.
your Suffo pits, right, that are somewhat symmetrical. You kind of know how the gen's going to lay out every time. A few minor changes, but like this map in particular is the most symmetrical, and like gens are in the same spots almost every
Yeah,
time. So
consistency, I would definitely say,
yeah.
is definitely what, and I would even say that as well as the other map that's in this realm too. I would say Yamaoka typically known for giving you pretty consistent on both sides, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would rather see it. I would think a twins would be more on family residence than Sanctum, in my opinion. Just because family is much larger in its layout, opposed to Sanctum being the typical I shape, right?
Mm.
Um, I mean, you're gonna laugh because this is the second time I've mentioned it, but a Legion, somebody that you would never see in comp, could be something you could play here because of his tracking.
Yeah, I think the tracking actually that would be a really good map to bring Legion out here. One, because of the tracking, even though it's not tiny, it is a medium-sized map, so you can get some pretty good tracking off of that power, especially if you do a good job in the early part of the game, kind of playing yourself into even like a 3-gen sort of situation.
Yeah, and that's more so when I say tiny, I look more so like once you get one or two gens done, how much does that map shrink, right? Because like you have a map like Ormond. Ormond
Right.
technically isn't a large map, but the way the gens are laid out is why it's so large, right? Because it's literally to the corners with gens. Sanctum may be a medium map, but those gens are all kind of congested into one area. At least of the seven, there's what, five that are literally in one area
Right.
almost.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Even like kind of thinking about that, kind of referring to even our earlier matchup today with Temple of Purgation, kind of considered a medium map, but once you take out the one gen and the one middle building, it's kind of a lot of gens kind of stuffed into a small area. So going to be interesting here as far as on Sanctum to see what ends up coming out here. However, I have yet to get a invite from a team, so hopefully we have something coming across from one of them here relatively quick. Because I'm super excited. You know, you mentioned this is a matchup that it puts two teams together that we're kind of know about a little bit, the competitive scene.
Oh, I mean, I've played, with Intimi, right? Intimidator on the Arctic Wolf side. Incredible player, smart player. So,
Mhm.
the entire team's going to be the same way. For Dwights One Locker, I've played against them. Psycho, as you see that invite coming through, I've played against them. I know, this team and what they can bring. So, and for Dwights One Locker has been around for, I mean, as long as I've been introduced to comp, they've been around. So, you've definitely got some veterans in here, some solid talent, some solid players. It's all going to be insane for sure.
I'm trying to see if I can find. I think at least in the past, Solar Blazer has been our. Oh, there it is. Our contact for Arctic Wolf. So we'll go ahead and get them slid on here as well. Um, we are getting relatively close to seeing a new killer introduced to DVD. And while we've got a second here waiting for this lobby to load, I know obviously we probably won't see the artist in this season, but as we start seeing teams get their hands on the artist, do you think that that killer is going to be a very comp viable killer, or is it going to be one that we see on the very rare occasion?
So my gut instinct is that artist is going to be very powerful in comp. I played the PTB for a little bit, even through all the, the issues that were going on with, privacy and everything, right? Neither here nor there, but, I played Artist, and I didn't lose a single match that night, and I was getting matched with 4,000, 5,000 hour players
Mm.
all night long, and, like, all I kept seeing was just her ability to shut down loops was insane. Her tracking, like, literally, you gave everything that a killer could want in a killer
Yeah.
into one killer. It's just getting smart with those crows.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously we don't know what the live server artist looks like. All we know is the PTB. For all we know, she gets stirred from the ground. We've seen most killers see some sort of changes from the PTB to the live server, whether they be big or small, but definitely interesting to um, kind of see another killer added that I feel like kind of shifts more to the shift W meta and breaking away from what I think a lot of people would consider the most fun part of DBD, which is the looping, right?
Well, let's be fair, right? Outside of your what I call the old heads of DBD, more survivors that come to this game do hold W. Your players that have been around for a long time will greed pallets, will loop for days on the same pallet. That's really a junk loop, right? They have no business looping there, but they can. Um, but I think with them, let's just look at what's coming. Epic Games, right? They're going to be able to download from there and free. I could see that introducing an entire wave of just hold W meta. And if you look at the last killers that were brought in, I think like what Pyramid Head kind of started that wave of just holding W. Because what's the best way to beat a Pyramid Head?
Yeah.
Run away.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you look back to even as far back to what Slinger and everything since that release.
Well, the thing with Slinger is if you ran away, he could bring you back. So
Right.
that was the only thing. But with the nerf to Slinger, it's even more so run away. I mean, I know playing killer a majority of the time, I'll be on a loop and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, where'd the survivor go? And I mind game myself because I held W.
Yeah, you're expecting to see more loops than survivors are actually willing to give you, right?
I'm like, yeah, I got him here. And then they're the next loop over and you're like, oh, well, I'm a dummy.
Now, if I had to guess here, we're coming out, again, this is Arctic Wolves home map. So this is going to be 4 Dwights, 1 Locker on the road, starting on the killer side. You are going to want to come out. I think you want to come out with something a little bit higher in the tier list. And it's a killer that I feel like we've been seeing come out more in competitive lately. I know we saw it in both of our semifinal matches in DVE today. I would hope to see some Plague come out. I think it would be a lot of fun.
I think Plague on this map would do some work because everything's so condensed. One thing I noticed in the DBE earlier, though, is I didn't see a whole lot of Plague thrown up on pallets, but I think that if you do that on this map, there's very limited resources that you could see a lot of infection happening from that. So yeah, Plague would be a great play here, I think.
Okay, and I promise that I wasn't I didn't plan out this really impeccable timing, but speaking of DBE, I don't know if you see in our chat over here, but we've actually got Direwolf coming in and hanging out as well as Nightlight both in chat. I know it's like super late for you guys, so I appreciate y'all coming over and hanging out with us for some late night Digos action.
Yeah, legends in the chat. Love to see it. Dire here to support the Arctic Wolves, of course, considering, he's got that whole mecca of the wolf pack over there. So love to see it. We got 4 bloody blueprints and a coin. Love it.
All right, let's talk about how 4 Dwights, 1 Locker is going to put some points on the board here on the killer side.
Well, y'all know if you're a killer, you want to get hooks. More hooks you get, more points you get, right? So progressions are worth 1 less, so don't camp. Nobody likes it. We're not here to make s'mores. Don't do it. 7 and 8 progressions equal 1 point. So again, don't camp. 4K equals 2 points extra. Every killer's job is to get that 4K. Go and do an entity kill, does award full points. And if they bleed out, you get no points. So you better pick up. No trying to wait out that decisive. No trying to bleed out for BM. Just pick them up. Put them on a hook. It's where the killer wants the survivors to be. It's fine. But if you want more info on the rules, exclamation mark rules in the chat.
Yeah, and I've always liked with the bleed out being 0 points, right? That means the survivors do have a little bit of counterplay if you do happen to go for like a slug for the 4K type of situation. Now, chat, I'm excited. This is a killer that we've only recently started seeing in competitive. We've got the Cenobite coming out here. And, you know, now at this point, going to be interesting to see. I feel like usually the important part is trying to locate the box and get those chain hunts going. We have been able to locate a survivor relatively quickly over here on the corrupt side of the map. We are going to see that M2 coming in there. Very confident use of the M2, going to cause a little bit of a slowdown. Should also, yeah, I was going to say, cause enough time for us to be able to get the M1 onto Spider here. If you are Psycho, you would really like a very fast down in this chase, and you are going to see the M2 in place. Kind of surprised to see the vault there instead of simply going around to the right, because I believe you get, yeah, one more vault out of there. You're also going to see Solar, excuse me, across the way is going to be solving that box while you're in chase. I really like that decision here, because obviously then you're making the Cenobite make a decision. Go for the down or go for the box.
Yeah, and if you look, those add-ons slow down solving that configuration. So it's really interesting, you know, utilizing that extra solve time, but then leaving that chase anyway, instead of taking it.
Yeah, I feel like 9 times out of 10, usually the right decision is to not go to the box. But sometimes you happen to see where that box just happens to be close enough. You can go over and secure the down. And after securing the down, that's when you force that chain hunt to start, right? But unfortunately, in that case, with it being across the map, you were hoping to get the second hit onto this lorry that we continue to chase. Now onto the opposite side of the map here. And we are going to see Nia coming in for that protection as well. That's now going to be 2 different health state changes. That is going to be a completed gen, though. Really good work by our survivors here thus far. Also going to be seeing that deadlock come into play. It's interesting to see deadlock being used even over perks like Pop, it seems like.
Yeah, I've noticed that like the wave of deadlock has been incoming at a higher rate. As you know, you're able to lock down some very vital gens. But you said earlier, it does sometimes work out against you when 2 gens are at the same point and 1 pops anyway.
And we're seeing yet again, you know, we talked about it last time we were in chase, and you mentioned, even though you're going with the prolonged solve time add-ons, not going to the box, and instead staying on the chase with the same lorry, nonetheless, worth mentioning. And you do see, you know, our Arctic Wolves here, seeing what we see from a lot of the Wolfpack, which is really good rotations and being able to play defense there, which is really extending this first chase. Can't help but imagine to think that we're going to see a second and maybe even a third gen coming across here shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Solar has come in for 2 body blocks now. Went back, healed, came back for 1. So, I mean, that was quite an extensive chase there. I would expect to see another gen pop relatively soon.
We are going to see, though, Psycho able to secure down number 1 here. Now, keep in mind, it has been a little while since we've seen those last in the first, really, gen that we've gotten complete. So, wouldn't be surprised to see a couple together. We did mention the deadlock earlier. Was going to see if maybe the Arctic Wolves were maybe trying to do the double pop kind of trick to see if you can get 2 past there. But it does look like actually that deadlock is going to cover the gen over on Pride Rock, which, if you remember, last time we were over there, had a lot of progress on it already. So I would imagine that thing's probably like 90-95%.
I would imagine so, but if you take a look at how the Wolves have broken this 3 gen already, like you've got, even before that gen popped, they still had not a very solid 3 gen. So Pinhead, right off the bat, the killer, really was not benefited with any 3 gen love at all.
Yeah, didn't get the love from the 3 gen. And I don't know if you noticed when that 3rd generator came across, but that's not the generator that was just covered by deadlock, right? So that's probably going to be a 4th gen coming across here shortly. And I think because of that, oh, gets done, stupid, plus 10 wood to the face. I think that's the reason that we are seeing Psycho actually going for the slug here, knowing that you've probably got a 4th gen getting popped soon. You need to compound some pressure. There's 2 down, so this is the pressure you're looking for. The question is, what does Psycho do with it?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get this, I mean, I probably would have opted to pick up the slug first, that you'd put down, and then come and grab. But hey, you know, luckily no DS, and now you're able to get 2 hooks that are relatively close to each other. This could spell a very good situation for this killer.
Yeah, not only is it 2 hooks that are close together, but you'll see over here to our right, We're also right by a door too, so we could even be setting up for some late game play here if we do see that last generator getting complete here shortly. Worth noting though, once that 4th generator completed, it was the same generator that got covered by deadlock that was covered that last time, and I haven't seen any survivors around here, so I would imagine it's going to be a little bit of time until we do see generator 5 get complete, but I don't know if you can really make a save here with with only having 2 survivors left. I feel like you got to prioritize that last gen, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a gen that's completely away from everybody. I mean, you can do that one. You could do the one right here. I mean, either way, this is a tough save because no matter what you do, even if you coordinate a double save at the same time, somebody's going to swap. And then it's just, this is some great hook RNG for sure.
Yeah, definitely nice having them right here where you're talking about, I mean, what, even if you're walking from one to the other, nice deliverance play though, which allows the free save. We also have the ace now coming in, borrowed time being applied, now going to be able to build a little bit of distance. Keep in mind though, that does mean we have not seen the Nia probably sitting somewhere on a generator and holding M1, hitting those skill checks. So the longer you can prolong this chase here, the more likely you are to being able to make a play into the actual end game while you still have all 4 survivors in the trial. Actually, that's going to be generator number 5 coming across right there, but I'm not sure if you can see on the right side of your screen. There is a no-ed in play. There's that no way out, and there is a box. Now you've got a chain hunt.
Oh, this is huge for the killer. I mean, I literally felt so bad because you were in chase with that ace and you left chase when you were right on ace, and then gen gets popped and you would have been able to get that no-ed down. But then to be able to have this chase already going on with the chain hunt, I mean, you're able to essentially have a slowdown on the doors. Wow, hopefully you can get 1 more survivor down or 2 more survivors down. So hopefully we can see something good happen from this.
So we do see Psycho coming over and checking this door. Nobody over here. Nobody on the no-ed over there across the way. We are going to see this chain hunt go ahead and end here. There is going to be a down from that no one escapes death. And things are tough because now you're looking at a couple of survivors right around here. You had not known about the no-ed yet. Now you definitely know, and there's probably got to be a little panic here coming from the Arctic Wolves, right?
Yeah, I almost feel like it would have been smarter for that Claudette to take the down, opposed to fresh hook here with the ace, I believe, correct?
Yeah, it's going to be a fresh hook.
So I feel like the Claudette should have taken that down instead of ace trying to take that body block. I mean, just because you know not all perks have been called yet. So to play it safe, that's what you got to go for. Maybe a misplay there, but no, it's gone now, so it doesn't matter either way. Now they can get that save.
Yeah, keep in mind, though, of course, with Vigos, or not even just with Vigos, but here you can still at least get the escape with the Claudette, because I think Claudette's actually on death hook. So it's a hard trade-off to make, but I think if Claudette goes down there, it goes to a 3v1, which, yeah, then you don't have to worry about a save here, but I think it looks like you might, I actually looked like, because I thought the same thing. I thought that was a mistake, but now looking at it, especially seeing the no-eds cleansed, might have actually worked out in their favor.
Yeah, because then they get, instead of getting that 3v1 and don't get that, 6 point for that extra 4 out, they're maybe just taking 1-2 hook here. So you could see something big happen here, and it looks like we're about to. Oh my gosh, the grab, huge, and a hit.
Yeah, that's really big. You got the grab, and then you're going to get the drop right here as well. So that means now you're going to have a retreating survivor. Now both survivors that are left that are not either on a hook or on the ground are both injured. That's very unfortunate. Maybe a little bit of a hesitation after the hit, because I feel like you probably could have gotten the save still.
Yeah, that is that could not have gone any better for the killer in that situation, because all they have to do now is just sit here, camp the hook, and they've got a survivor that they can just take the hook. Hopefully, for their sake, that survivor does not have Unbreakable.
Also, keeping in mind, right, you had talked about going into this trial, even if that survivor that is on the ground, let's say happens to be sacrificed to the entity, because I do believe that timer would expire first looking at it. I think it's just a little bit ahead of it. That would be the hook and the corresponding progressions as well. Because I do believe that, again, I think that timer is just a little bit ahead of it there. So you do have the option to try and make a play. We do see the 2 survivors. They are healed. They are coming in for the save. One thing also worth noting, though, is the survivor that was on the ground is actually going further away from the hook. And you had mentioned before, this is a map that has a few less hooks than other maps. We might not have a map close enough. Maybe we can make a play, have a wiggle off, and still be able to get somebody out the door here. Here's going to be where things might get a little spicy.
I mean, yeah, you hear footsteps on your right there, but I do. Oh, and
I
wow,
think
that
that
felt
was
like
breakout.
breakout.
Yeah, I
That felt
think that
like
was
breakout.
breakout. And there's one
Wow.
hit. Now you've got still one survivor. The Nia can still put a little bit of protection there to help. Also can be able to use their body to break these last little bit of chains coming in here. We do see some distance being closed by Psycho though. And also we have that chain hunt. The chain hunt being very, very critical. But Nia, I think, might be able to pull off just enough body block, just enough slowdown. That's going to be a down. Now can you get the heal tech? We got a heal tech. There's a hit. I think that might be all three getting out there. That's insane.
Wow, incredible, incredible teamwork from Arctic Wolves to secure that 3 out. Body blocks, heel techs, even with the chains coming out of nowhere, that had to feel like a gauntlet from hell right there. Oh my goodness.
Wow, definitely worth noting though, Psycho, what a fight to make sure that you got not only the one elimination, but you got some good help. You got yourself some good states there, but wow, Arctic Wolves just fighting and really putting up a very, very impressive first round on the Survivor side.
I just want to call out, no breakout there.
There was no breakout. Interesting. Oh, well, you did, of course, have the pickup and the drop. I think I had kind of forgot how much progress that does actually cause in that bar there. But yeah, that was a really big play.
All I'm saying is you know that survivor was sitting there hitting AD at 1,000 miles an hour. Like, I'm 99, I'm 99, get the save.
Yeah, yelling out one hit as they got closer and closer. And I do think too, we saw the body come in on the crouch, and I think it actually took away the prompt for our killer there to be able to actually put the survivor up on the hook. I think if it were not for the body block there, I think you actually still get the hook there.
I thought he was in the hooking animation and all of a sudden stopped. So, wow, great teamwork, great execution at end game, because that should have been a 2K.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. We had talked about there with there was still 2 gens left to be, no, just 1 gen left to be complete, and you had 2 people on the hook right next to one another, and that was insane.
I mean, that just goes to show the resolve that these teams have, right, on both ends. Arctic Wolves showing that, they're a part of the Wolfpack. Wolfpack notoriously always makes things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, incredible showing, again, from the survivors. And then even more so, Killer from Four Dwights, One Locker did not play poorly. Came back after a rough early game, had a solid mid game, and an even better late game. It's just whose game was better at the end there, and we saw the Wolves came through strong.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? You have the fight back from what I think a lot of people who having a very fair and honest look at the beginning part of that trial would say that wasn't the best start for the Killer, but continued to build back and even again maintain that fight all the way through the end. Does it probably not feel the best only getting the 1K? Sure, but seeing how hard you fought and being able to put that pressure back onto the Arctic Wolves, gotta be feeling good going into back-to-back Survivor sets here.
Yeah, I mean, game is still close, right? 7-point difference. All it will take is a strong showing from the survivors, and all of a sudden this game's tied up, or they've got the lead. So, I mean, we saw a no hook 4 out earlier today, so it's not impossible. So, depending on what Killer is brought, we could see, that score rotate back in Four Dwights' favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we saw, a no hook. We saw, a 2 hook no elimination. I mean, we've seen a couple of very strong performances from the Survivor side, really across the board. And I would definitely agree that with the experience that Four Dwights, One Locker brings to the table, even though Arctic Wolves has definitely had a very nice start to the season thus far, Four Dwights, One Locker definitely ain't no joke, and they can still put up a good comeback here.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's a reason why they've been around this long, right? Because they've got that experience. They've got that want to, that will, that heart to win, right? Without getting too cliche with it like a boxer, right? But they can do it. and I have no doubt that they're going to come out and make Solar here really work for what comes.
The question though is what do we think Solar Blazer brings out here? Because I feel like thus far from Solar Blazer, we've seen actually a really good balance of mostly M1 killers, but a bunch of different killers with different like skill sets to him, showing that he has a very good overall knowledge of just the killer mechanic. But I don't think we've seen him bring out any S tiers yet, unless I'm mistaken. Not sure this is the map to do it, but you know, a nice strong performance in 2 really helps you feel a little bit better into going into trial 3. So everything's on the table.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely, again, and you and I both agree. We think Plague is a solid choice here. I could, again, you know, if Solar has been a solid M1 killer, and with how I know how, you know, Wolfpack kind of does their killers, I could see a Doctor. I really could, because Doctor's still an M1 killer and a very solid 3-gen, you know, powered killer.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. And I also like that idea because, of course, Doctor gives you some extra information, right? Obviously, with the illusions and things. And you had mentioned also, even heading into the last trial, the ability to shut down a lot of those weaker kind of filler tiles there in the middle. So I like that pick as well. I still think if, you know, since we've got the notorious Nightlight in chat, I still would like to see a Clown too. I think could make some move them.
Well, so who I think is going to get brought, I think is a Doctor. Who I'd like to see, just like, and as you, and we already talked about it, I'm telling you, somebody bring Legion. It's possible you can win with Legion.
Yeah, Legion would be good here. You know, we saw a new killer in the Cenobite. I would still, just like we talked about in the last matchup, I would like to see Nemesis come out. Could be fun. This would be a map where you can get some good information there, right? And again, with everything really being on the table, going to be interested to see here. But, man, I don't...
This map really makes it to where any killer is something you could use. I mean, it almost eliminates your S tiers and just opens it to every other killer.
I had seen earlier in chat somebody mention Ghostface, and I know in other competitive scenes we normally have seen Ghostface more come out on, like, say, a Larry's or something, but of course Larry's not being a home map to anybody, because I think that would have been a tough map to be choosing for a home map. But with the elevated angle, maybe even a ghost face. Of course, you have a lot of taller brushes and things that you can kind of cover up too. Oh, that could be fun.
I mean, Ghostface, just stand up on top of your tower and just peer down and expose everybody. I mean, why not? Go for it. If you, I mean, that'd be kind of cool, right?
I mean, you know, if anyone's gonna do it, I feel like for Dwights One Locker, with their experience, they probably know a trick or two. Right. However, knowing that you are in a little bit of a deficit, maybe not the time to bring out a ghost face. Probably seeing something more, I think, mid-tier, a little bit stronger. Definitely, like you said, probably not S tier. We are going to see all of our points here. And we talked about last time how for Dwights One Locker were able to put points up on the board on the killer side. How about we talk about how they can catch up here on the survivor side?
Absolutely. As we know, the key to survivor is escaping. So escaping, doing gens, doing the doors, getting out. So first, second gen, 1 point. Third and fourth gen, 2 points. Fifth gen, 3 points. But ultimately, it comes down to how many actually escape the trial. So you do want to see that fourth survivor get out, because that is a whopping 6 point to the killer side, or to the survivor side. So you do want to see that. Escape with 2 or more hook states remaining, you do get an extra point. So if you get that 1 hook and you still escape, you get that bonus point. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep people fresh, and you want to see everybody escape. For more info, !rules in the chat.
All right, we are coming out trial number 2, and again, seeing something that really we didn't bring up, but I do like this killer choice here. coming out with the Nightmare, and of course the Nightmare does have those dream snares as we're seeing coming out here, has the ability to shut down some of those loops. We are going to see that Corrupt Intervention, of course, going to be in play here, really helping out. And also worth noting that Solar did make this. Ooh, I like the balance landing play, building some extra distance, not even stopping at the filler pallet, coming all the way back here, even causing a little bit of hesitation at that pallet and just kind of continuing through the 4 lane. But what is worth noticing right now is we're taking a chase on the Corrupt side. We probably have a survivor or two across the way currently working on some gens. So right now, Draxi really needs to prolong this chase.
And Drax is doing a great job when you've got 1-2 Solar coming for you. Let me tell you, right now you really see a solid run coming out, and Solar really trying to utilize those puddles, but really getting 0 value right now. But a quick down. I mean, I feel like that was a fairly quick down for as long as that chase went. That almost went really fast. It was weird.
Yeah, it was definitely a very long first part of the chase, but then 2 really quick hits back to back. We do still have about 30 seconds left on our Corrupt Intervention here. We are going to also see as Solar pushes survivors off of this generator, it is going to start regressing just a little bit there. That is going to be some ruin coming into play. That can help, especially on this top middle gen right now, because you can keep an eye on that hook while also keeping an eye on this generator. We are going to see, though, right now, no one's going to be able to work on that generator top mid at least for another couple of seconds because that deadlock also coming into play. Interesting seeing that deadlock yet again coming out.
To me, it almost feels like if you're a survivor, you don't do any gens until that Corrupt is gone. If a deadlock is in play, because if you look, there were 4 gens blocked there for a minute. Yeah, you got 1 gen, but then you couldn't work on 4 of them. It was kind of crazy to look at. You had that 3 gen plus mid unable to be touched. Kind of nuts. I mean, but you are seeing it, as you said, more and more. Deadlock has been the play.
Now, what's also worth noting, now that we're far enough into the trial and we can actually talk about this perk, as our survivors are working on the gen, they're noticing that they're being affected by that fearmonger. And I feel like even in pubs lately, I've been seeing fearmonger being played more and more. And I don't know if it's maybe the recent buff because it also makes you oblivious as well, but I feel like maybe not the most value on a Freddy because your survivors are probably staying in dream state anyways, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're still oblivious, and with that lullaby, I mean, you're able to know he's in the area, and any smart, player's definitely going to pre-leave, not try to hold it. I mean, unless you're trying to finish a gen right here in their face. But, typically that oblivious doesn't really matter against a Freddy, but you also still, I mean, it's a factor. I mean, you don't want to see people able to use their exhaust.
Now that is going to be another fresh hook here. Unfortunately, the save across the map onto Draxi was not able to come in there before the second stage was forced. So a little bit of extra pressure, especially seeing as right now we still also have that ruin in play. And oh my goodness gracious, there's Draxi and they're injured right now. And that's Frederick behind you. Freddy has a lunge. He has those claws. That's going to be a down, and would honestly not be surprised to see the slug here for a little bit since it's still been a while since your survivor was on a hook, only because I was worried about the decisive strike, but clearly Solar was not. Picked them up with no worries whatsoever. Keep in mind, they were on dead on hook, so that's going to be a 3v1 with only 2 generators complete.
Yeah, that is huge for Solar. And to be honest, you pick up there even if you're scared of decisive or not, because you get it out before, 3 gens done. So that's actually a win either way. Because then you're not going to have to run into that later. But these survivors keep running right into Freddy. This Oblivious is definitely helping.
Yeah, we're seeing, maybe a little bit of miscommunications or just unfortunately maybe not being completely aware of the surroundings. And that's going to be a down through the pallet. Unfortunate, maybe was playing just a little too greedy around there. And we are going to see we still have a 3 gen intact on this side of the map. While we have a 3v1, while you've got a hooked survivor on this side of the map, Arctic Wolves really in control right now.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen from Solar, we've seen very strong showings from just holding the map down. And I would not have used Freddy here, but clearly we're seeing why Freddy is working. I mean, you're not really having to teleport. You're just able to lock down one side of the map, use that Go-Go Gadget Arms lunge, and really just wreak havoc, and that's what we're seeing.
Now, I don't remember calling it out or even remember hearing it, to be perfectly honest, but it is worth noting that the ruin has been cleansed at this point. It has. So at least now, as you start working on these gens, you hear that progress on that gen over to our right as well. At least now, as say survivors have to move in for the save, at least now those gens are no longer regressing, but definitely got really big value out of it. Basically, three gens worth of value. You were able to get an elimination with some assistance from Ruin there. Actually going to be seeing a second elimination coming across here, and still the 3 gen being intact. Very strong performance right now.
Yeah, I mean, the survivors at this point, I mean, if you're the survivors, what do you do? Do you have any gens do you knock out that gen that, that's not in the 3 gen just to get those points? Because right now it looks very grim. One would call it a nightmare, if you would, because 2 down, 2 gens up, that's not the position you want to be in as a survivor.
Yeah, not at all. And, honestly wouldn't be surprised if, because we had heard them working on that generator on Pride Rock across the way earlier, wouldn't be surprised if maybe we saw them also working on the one that's away from the 3 gen, but we are going to see Solar here going to go for the slug option. I think that's the smart play, knowing that if you were to allow Megan to make a play through via the hatch or maybe even a 50-50 on the door without a hook stay, that's a lot of points that you are sacrificing there. But, we talked about it heading into this trial. Now we can maybe see Zaridi maybe playing a little bit of that cat and mouse game and might be able to tuck themselves into a corner and take away those points from Solar here.
Yeah, absolutely. And can we just say, tell that crow snitches get stitches, because that crow definitely just gave away trust in the godly right there. I mean, coming through, slugging, and then immediately you see that crow go in the air, and immediately, there's a chase. So, I mean, at this point, you're expecting to see a down real fast, and there you go. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a GG's solid play from this Freddy, barring no deliverance or unbreakable.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, and you did this on 3 gens, right? And you mentioned last time before going into this trial, you talked about how the 5th gen was the one that got you the most point. The 4th gen even gets you 2, so you got yourself 2 single point gens and a double point gen while getting 4K'd here. Now, you still can't take away those points with the slug, but you were very, very loud while you're on the ground there, unfortunately. And that is going to be a location given up there, and that is now going to be a 4K, going to be a very good lead after set number 1, and Arctic Wolves definitely got to be feeling good halfway through our matchup here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speechless. That was an incredible showing by a Freddy who, I mean, as we've seen since his nerf, has not been very, very good. So to see this strong of a showing with the Freddy, I'm curious to see what else they can bring and do well with.
Yeah, it's kind of goes again talking about what we had mentioned heading into the round here for Solar. Solar's kind of shown a very good grasp on a lot of different killers that kind of bring different things to the table as far as their skill set. There's the deliverance there, dead hard, swing and miss. There's going to be the firecrackers, but not going to be in time. The only question now, though, is normally the deliverance player is also your decisive strike player. We are going to see Solar, I think, taking the cautious approach, dropping some of these dream snares down. And then if I had to guess, oh no, I was gonna say maybe we're going to see you just go ahead and risk it for the biscuit, but instead might as well go ahead and wait for the sacrifice to be complete, allow for Hatch to come and play. Might even see Solar go for a quick look for Hatch if it happens to be around, or just do a little bit of a count out here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I've seen a lot of Unbreakable with Deliverance as of late, but seeing as we're crawling, I don't think that is the case. I definitely think DS might be it.
But, interesting, now that you come out here and you have the 4K after having the very impressive Survivor game, now maybe you think about using one of your, at the risk of sounding like you're too concerned with your killer tiers, because it does seem like Solar has a very good grasp on all of them, but maybe we see what's considered like a lower tier killer come out here, knowing that you want to save some of those uses for when you're not in a almost 30-point lead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give me Legion. Give me Ghostface. Let's go for it. But a very odd choice though. So by them deliverancing off that hook, they just gave Arctic Wolves more points for that rehook instead of progressions.
That's a very good point. I didn't even think about that when we saw that come across. And I mean, yeah, you take the risk of maybe trying to force them to get the pickup because we do see that there was indeed a decisive strike paired up with the deliverance and seeing if maybe you can make a play for the hatch. But I mean, Solar's shown a lot of patience and experience on the killer side thus far. So I don't think that's something that was to be expected.
I'm almost wondering, was that a missed DS? Because I don't feel like we waited that long. And I feel like typically when waiting in game for a DS to go through, right, for that 60 seconds, you almost feel like it takes forever. And I feel like that went so fast. So fast. So maybe a missed DS, or actually maybe the timer just ran out. I wasn't paying attention to the actual icon because I was like, the game was done, in my opinion. So at that point, you're just like, well, I mean, GG's, but Freddie just won that one. So
yeah, that's an interesting point because maybe part of it definitely, I think we can all agree, when you're actually in the game, the 60 seconds seems like 60 minutes, right? You're like, oh yeah, I definitely waited this out. And then you just go and pick them up and you're still getting slapped around. But also too, maybe it was just one of those situations where you don't hear the hatch around and figure, even if I do get a decisive strike, all of these dream snares around, I'm probably not making the distance. Let's just go ahead, cut our losses, right? And let's just move on to trial number 3.
yeah, true. But random thought, what do you think the odds are that people start pairing Vigil with that broken status? Because doesn't that speed up the broken status?
It does start. It does indeed break up. It helps with the broken status. It also helps with a lot of other statuses that you can get that we don't necessarily see from Vigo Squirt, like Starstruck, and other exposed statuses, right? But I do believe it would help there. I wonder though, is the value that you get there worth whatever value you could get from another perk? 'Cause we all know what happens sometimes when you're the deliverance guy, right? You're the first one that goes up on a hook. Now, not only are you not getting deliverance value, but are you getting vigil value? And what, you have 2 perks? I think that's probably why it's a tough risk to take.
No, agreed. I was just thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
Imagine that you beta
that'd be
DS
tough.
pickup
Yeah.
with a Vigil play, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, the broken went away, but really it was only X amount of seconds, and they still get hit with the, your favorite, the decisive strike there.
Slap
So
them with the D, baby. Yeah.
I had to let you say it. So
You gotta, that's interesting. And now I feel like you're gonna have killers on the lookout for that, wondering if other people are starting to think outside the box as well.
I mean, it'd be a play to go for, right? Because so many people are used to waiting out that deliverance timer, but then all of a sudden you've got that Vigil come into play, and you're like, oh, the timer's up, yeah, and then they pick up, and you still don't get a hook out of it. So, I mean, granted, the odds of actually seeing that happen,
Right.
I would get pretty hype if it did happen, though.
Now, I know we probably had some people who maybe weren't here right off the rip. Obviously, you saw what map that were on, but let's talk about it and break it down one last time. We are at that halfway point here.
Yeah, so we are on Sanctum of Wrath. As you see, 6 hook min, 11 hook max. It is Arctic Wolves' home sweet home. They love it here. They live here. The basement is their home. Not really. I'm kidding. Point being, gens on this map do form in an I formation. So it's a very big 3-gen map. Very strong at the right hands of the right killer, as we saw. Fredward definitely put some work in. But yeah, that's Sanctum in the Yamoka estate.
And I'm excited here. We see that both our killer and our survivors very excited to get into our next trial. And this is where Solar Blazer does have the ability here in trial number 3 to end things early. If that is the case and we have a decision, we are still going to play out trial number 4, but would be a nice way to end your killer time on the back-to-back trials.
Oh, absolutely. Best case scenario, win it in 3 set, go to your 4th and just cruise, right?
Yep. Now we are going into third trial here. Let's talk about some of these ban rules we have here in Vigo's court.
Yeah, so as any rule set, there's always some bans that need to come through. So we already know yellow items, yellow add-ons. Only one perk of each, or one of each perk on each survivor other than borrowed time, which, well, we need double. It just happens. Banned perks, no build to last, no prove thyself, the gen rushing perks, we already know. Then you've got the haunted grounds, the other exposed perk. I just lost all train of thought. Starstruck there. You know, banned. Don't use them. If you do use them, you get in trouble. Okay? So, ban perks for a reason. Otherwise, I do want to see a Lethal Pursuer, Billy, or Huntress hit, but it's fine. It's fine. But if you have any questions about the rules, exclamation mark rules in the chat, please and thank you.
And here we are, another fast load-in, and we had talked about it, maybe seeing something different coming out, knowing that you have yourself a good lead, and we are going to see some competitive Trapper on the Yamaoka Estates here. It is a map that has a lot of the taller grass, so maybe going to be able to see some good value here. Also worth mentioning the Eerie Stone, which does mean a little bit less maintenance on those traps once you have them placed in places you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing worse than getting caught in a trap that you thought had already been reset or, you know, unarmed, and then you run back over it and then you're trapped. So definitely that disguise is there. And Trapper already getting a hit that early is huge because, as we all know, Trapper really is not a strong killer, but to get a hit that early is very good for the killer.
The other thing worth noting too with the Eerie Stone is it's going to cause a couple of those traps around the map that are in kind of obscure locations that are normally meant to be there for the Trapper to go locate and pick up and put in his bag are just going to be in random spots around the map that might actually end up buying Solar here a little bit of extra value. You mentioned an early hit. We do have an early down here as well, and that down is now going to result in a hook over here, and what I want to say is the uncorrupt side of the map, but you do see a split corrupt, but most of the uncorrupt side is right over here.
And also, I don't know if you noticed what that other brown add-on does, but it makes it to where the Trapper cannot be caught in his own traps as well. So is that potentially a, like, basement Trapper build almost?
Yeah, I think that is a good indication of what maybe the game plan is. And, you know, especially I think anybody who plays Trapper, even in pubs, would say obviously the strongest place you can play a Trapper is going to be around the basement. It's also kind of nice, too, because you had mentioned the Eerie Stone. Sometimes it will mean that a trap might randomly arm itself while you're working around a loop. So it's kind of nice that you don't catch the bad end of that, right? Oh, I thought Megan was actually gonna walk into that.
I was hoping. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it. I was actually hoping that she would have gotten caught in that trap that's right there in front of that loop. I was hoping to reset right as they got to it. Unfortunate. There it was.
Oh, there it is. Didn't catch it there. I don't know if maybe you just weren't looking and happened to get lucky enough to walk around it, but getting caught in it that time. And that's going to be hook number 2 for Trust in Godly, and that's only one generator complete thus far for our survivors here. So 4 Dwights, 1 locker, definitely feeling a little bit of pressure here, and they need to really start getting this objective moving.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you almost wonder if the Trapper pick kind of caught the 4 Dwights off guard, just because you're so used to being able to just loop without having to look around your surroundings, right? You're kind of programmed to run them a certain way. But with Trapper, you have to stare at the ground the entire time. Now, granted, stretch, you already are, but even then, you're really looking at that ground.
Right, yeah, and it adds a whole nother element, right? You mentioned it. One thing you're not typically used to having to worry about anyways, and maybe, again, just adding that extra element, somebody looking down at the ground, maybe they're being a little bit more deliberate with their loops, so now they're missing some extra time to put some pressure elsewhere, or, you know, missing some of the easy decision-making. And it does look like, though, Solar's just going to camp out our survivor here, and that's going to be moving to a 3v1 with just 1 generator complete. Although we do have a generator up here on the top mid. This thing's knocking like a Ford in the middle of December. That thing's just about ready to go.
Yeah, and a really odd decision. I mean, granted, he was still kind of in the area, but both games now we've seen people die on hook. So it's very, very unfortunate because you're making this game on hard mode now for the survivors by letting a survivor die that early. I mean, with 4 gens up, you need everybody there.
Yeah, now you really need to have basically a pearl that probably looked
Oh,
very, very friendly on Joker's end. Oh my goodness gracious. That's going to be a receipt that you are going to have signed from behavior. And I'm sure Solar is loving to see it, but there's going to be 2 gens actually coming across here from 4 Dwights, 1 Locker. So an unfortunate Pocos, but you've done a pretty good job. You've also broken up that 3 gen on the opposite side of the map.
yeah. I mean, you definitely see 2 and 2 now. Big plays, right? Just stay in it and just keep focusing on your objective. But this oh, and a deliverance play. You love to see it. Point being, though, this task is not going to be easy with 3 survivors left in the trial. You definitely need that fourth for added pressure.
Yeah, now you do keep in mind here that you aren't going to have to worry about the oh, I thought that was going to be a hit there. You don't have to worry about the fourth escape with those most points, but if you are Solar Blazer here, I believe if you just secure one more elimination, I do believe that should secure the decision here in trial number 3.
Yeah, I mean, Solar did exactly what Solar needed to do and not allowing that extra bonus for the 4. 4 Dwights needed all 4 to escape to stay competitive as far as into that final trial. But, either way, I mean, you're playing Trapper and you're putting up a solid showing right now. Really solid showing.
And that is going to be another plus 10 wood added to the face here for Solar. That's also going to be a 4th gen coming in. So that means only one more gen needing to be complete. That is going to be a vault into... Oh my goodness, yo. Solar's internet is too strong.
Yeah, the Pocos is strong in Solar, let me tell you, because 2 hits that I'm like, that shouldn't hit, and you're getting them. Oh, man. If I'm the survivors, I'm fuming.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. And now you definitely, it's funny. You see the back-to-back Pocos and quickly you are seeing the reset coming in across the way like, you know what? Maybe we should go ahead and make sure we're both full health. And we're probably going to want to make sure we're pre-throwing these last couple of pallets here. However, I can't help but wonder, with them being together, do they move in for the unhook now? Or do the 2 of them get together onto a single gen, especially say maybe the gen across the way that Solar isn't able to put any pressure on, and see if maybe you can get this generator in before moving in for the save? But there is the Quentin just out of nowhere.
How did Solar even hear that survivor? I didn't even hear that survivor. It was like all of a sudden the survivor senses were tingling and he just knew they were what? And then we
Ooh.
have a DC. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really tough, especially with it being this late in the trial. We are going to play things out. We are going to have our team look into that in the background, but with it being this late in the trial, it's going to take... He's just doing the back and forward. They're showing off that he has the traps that he can't even get stepped in. Oh, you gotta love to see it. And now with that, with Draxi going on the second hook, honestly, wouldn't be surprised after the DC to see Quentin just try to set up for an end game play here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, the best play would be to, I mean, for point wise, would be to finish that gen and escape through hatch if possible. But already on the tracks of that last survivor, and I don't know if it's going to be quite enough. This is definitely going to be a 1-for-1 situation right here.
Yeah, and we're talking about a survivor who has already been on the hook once. Also got to hope that there is a borrowed time play here, right? Because if there is no borrowed time, that means a simple M1 application onto the back of Zarina here. I do believe Zarina should be able to make this vault. However, they do choose not to vault. So I believe Solar Blazer making the smart decision, going to opt to go over here, find Joker, put them up onto the hook first, seeing as Draxi was just up on a hook. So, you might as well try and wait out a little of the decisive strike timer if that happens to be the survivor who has it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I do think that if that DC does not happen, they get that final gen done. But that such is life, right? That's the game. You just carry on, and unfortunately, the survivors were unable to complete all gens. Now you just gotta hope that Solar can find the last survivor because those points are going to be essential in making sure to close this game out.
Yeah, I mean, at least here at this point, if you're the survivors, maybe you can try and get away here. Unfortunately, Zarina has been located in the corner of the map here. I do believe at this point we are about probably 15 seconds away from decisive timer being up if there is indeed a decisive strike. However, we are going to see no D applied to a Solar Blazer's face, and that is going to be another hook. That's going to be essentially the fourth elimination here, and another really strong performance by Solar here on even what a lot would consider. I mean, what I wouldn't even say what a lot would consider, what most and probably everybody would consider a very low tier competitive killer in the Trapper.
Yeah, I mean, Trapper came out and Trapper did what Trapper needed to do, and that is close out a 4K. I mean, I think even without that DC, I think Trapper still has a very strong showing. Definitely 2K, if not a 3K. But the way it was looking, it looked like Solar never was not in control of that match.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Like, if we do have the survivors stay in, I think we can at least say with some good confidence that the fourth or the fifth gen probably gets complete. But then after that, everything else is still up for discrepancy because we had Noed, we had the No Way Out, we had everybody. What at that point we would have had 3 stacks of No Way Out because I do believe the DC was on the one person who had not been hooked. But even still, 3 stacks of No Way Out causes a long end game. So
Yeah, very true. I mean, No Way Out, No Ed is the combo that you're seeing become like a base kit for M1 killers. So, you know, if you have a solid mid game as a killer in this game, you know, and then you have that, I mean, it's very hard not to win the match. So, I mean, it definitely looked like Solar was going to win that from the get go, you know, after that mid game, but there you are.
and going to be interesting to see here because, of course, we are going to be playing out a fourth trial. Couple reasons for that. One, it is always nice to give our competitors some live reps because anybody who's played competitively will tell you scrims are still different than like being in front of a crowd, right? And especially in Vigo's court, we do see a lot of newer competitors. So getting those live reps, knowing that you're playing in front of people, knowing that there's a good chance that if you make a mistake, somebody might point out, and that's okay, by the way, if people point it out, those are being pointed out by people who wouldn't even dare to compete, right? But also too, we want to make sure that both teams are making sure that they are burning 2 killers in every matchup.
Which is fair and logical. That makes perfect sense. But hey, you know, if you ever are in a situation where that fourth match doesn't really count for anything and you're playing killer, I mean, at least you're able to throw, you know, Trapper into the mix or Legion or Myers, you know, people that you would never ever play at this point. You're able to just kind of dump them and save your big dogs for when you really, really need them instead of like, what if I needed to use a nurse to try to get this win? I could throw Ghostface in, call it a game, the end.
Now, I do see it does look like in chat. I'm not sure it's the first time we are seeing her pop into chat, but it is the Arctic Wolves coach, the very well-known Wispy, a very prominent figure as face, especially on the killer side. So awesome to see Wispy here. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us on this beautiful Saturday night.
All I'm gonna say is hashtag RIP Slinger because Wispy Slinger was probably the best Slinger I've ever played against. So, Sag, I miss Slinger.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like since the Slinger nerf, I feel like Wispy is the only person that I've seen being able to still put up a rather decent performance. I don't think we're too far away from seeing some of these killers still be able to see the Death Slinger come out on occasion. But who knows? Maybe the developers will actually listen to their community, and maybe we'll get a buff back to Death Slinger here soon to bring him back up into contention.
My thing with Slinger was the terror radius 100% needed nerf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That terror radius was miserable. I mean, when you're standing on one side of Shack and you can't hear the terror radius on the other side of Shack, that's a problem.
Right.
But why take away something that is a skillful play with that quick scope? There's an absolute counter to that. You know, so taking away that quick scope takes away where you really have to know your killer to be able to pull that off and when you can pull it off. So I just want the quick scope back. Even if you like bring it back in a little bit, not quite to the level it was, but like make it a little bit better, I think that would make Deathslinger so much better.
Yeah, and I think anybody who has played against a lot of Deathslingers would agree that I think what a lot of people's more concern was not so much the quick scope, but the ability to quickly drop out of scope and go into the M1, which was also nerfed, right? And I think had just that been the change, I think we that and the terror radius changes. I agree that also had a change. But by taking away so much of what made Slinger good, while not adding anything to where Slinger lacked, really kind of left Slinger in a unfortunate situation. Luckily for the Slinger, though, I heard they fixed the saloon and that bad boy's open 24/7 for him to drink his problems away.
Hey, I'm there with them taking a shot because first off, Miss Dead Dog, favorite map on the planet. But then secondly, I'm sitting there drinking, just saying, hey, you know what? You were great back in high school, and I miss you.
And we are going to be moving into trial number 4. I like seeing from our survivors, maybe seeing some costumes, some outfits that we normally wouldn't see in the competitive scene. 'Tis the season for some seasons greetings. So we are going to see Arctic Wolves has the detective cap out here with the holiday sweater. You love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping to see maybe a little bit of the bright gold Ace outfit or, the graffiti Nia skin. Like, come on, let's see some live colors. It's a jolly season, right?
Right. And, I need at least once through the course of December, I'm going to need to see 4 Dwights, 1 Locker bring in Jingle Tweet. It's just necessary.
You have to. You're not 4 Dwights, 1 Locker unless you bring in Present Dwight and jingle your way around the map.
Yep. If Jingle Dwight or even was the other one, Dwight in a Box, I think was the newer outfit they released last year. But I think the Dwelf on the Shelf definitely has to be the one to go with for sure.
I mean, it makes me think of that Lonely Island song, D in a Box. All I'm saying is if you bring that skin with the present Dwight, you better have D Strike because then it'll be the best the best riff in this game ever.
That will be the best YouTube short if you can combine the D Strike plays into the actual music video itself. That would be hilarious. But we do see now all 4 survivors readied up. We've got our killer readied up. Let's go ahead and make sure that we do indeed have all 4 bloodied blueprints, as well as that cut coin here. And we talked about the ban rules last time, but we didn't really talk about what happens if there are any sort of penalties or anything.
So, there are rules. If you don't follow the rules, there are penalties. Point being, if you do make error in the rules, you either get played out, restarted, or both. It is for sure point minus. So you see multiple survivors, -5 points, and a restart potentially. If you're bringing the wrong map, -5, auto restart. If you are being mean to people, okay, -10 per offense. Be nice, be kind. This is Comp DBD. Have a good time with it, okay? We love each other. Just be nice and play by the rules. Exclamation mark rules in the chat if you want to know more.
All right, and we are already loaded in. Well, I was going to say it all comes down to this, but of course we do already have an answer, and we are going to have the Billy Boy coming out. Kind of interesting to see a Billy pick here, but they do have the cool new skin, as we can see there with the hammer. So busting that bad boy out looks really good, to be honest. Kind of surprised, though, we can talk about it now after seeing the seeing the pallet hit. No low pro chains. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, you don't really see this combo very often. You definitely see the engravings, but what muffler is that? I off the top of my head, I don't know what that add-on does. But interesting map to bring. ability, just because I feel like this map is so cluttered. It is so hard to saw from one side to the other.
Yeah, agreed. And we are seeing here Psycho does have a interesting gen setup worth mentioning. We had talked about coming into this trial how on this map, generally kind of known for giving you a very symmetric 3 on the top side, 3 on the bottom side sort of map setup or gen setup. But actually,
Solid
we
hit.
have 4 gens over here and only 2 on the other side of the map, and that's why the top gen is corrupted there.
Yeah, very, very unique corrupt spread. Like we talked about, typically you would see 3 on one side and then that middle one on, but one of the few times you have 4 on one side of the map. Insane. I can't say I've seen that in recent memory. This Billy came to play. Psycho
Yeah.
out here playing with our emotions by getting these hits over and over again.
Yeah, you love to see the snipes coming out right now. And worth noting because
Oh my
Arctic
goodness.
Wolves were in a situation where you could still put up a record performance by getting the full 26 survivor points, finishing at 96. But instead, we have 2 survivors on the ground right now. We have yet to see one of them get off the ground. And Psycho closing in very, very quickly onto Solar Blazer. However, oh, are you going to be able to hit it here? Well, I thought you were going to hit the 360, imagine.
Can you imagine? I thought they were hitting the one on the stairs just a second ago, so that would have been insane. Solid play. What are we? Oh, the vine. That vine is so strong that it stops chainsaws. Insane.
Yeah, now this is going to be what's interesting, though, right? You went for the slug, and we're trying to build up that extra pressure, and now we do see the one slug getting off the ground. We are going to see a what looked like a play into the locker. Not sure if maybe our killer is worried that is. Well, no, it wouldn't be a decisive strike because we haven't even gotten a hook yet. So actually,
That was a
really
deception.
interesting to see
That was
you.
a deception play.
Yeah. Oh, that was a deception.
Because I thought she jumped into the locker and then saw her run down the stairs and went, wait, what?
And we are going to see, though, we have still yet to see any generators come across here for Arctic Wolves, but can't help but imagine that probably means that our survivors are doing a good job spreading that pressure amongst multiple gens. But here we are again, still 2 survivors down on the ground, chasing the Nia once again here. Not able to make the play, obviously, through the pallet there with the GoPro, but or the GoPro, with the low pro. But now trying to see if you can get a curve around and not able to quite get it there. And can't help but maybe see Spider coming in, picking up those slugs and getting back to having 4 survivors in play.
Yeah, very, very interesting to leave that survivor on the ground for this long. I mean, this survivor might bleed out if they're not careful.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if maybe that might be part of Arctic Wolves gameplay. And we are seeing another sound notification across the way. Not sure if that's from a missed skill check on that gen or maybe a fast vault or something. We are going to see generator number 2 getting done again, chasing the Nia once again. Not going to be able to apply the hit, but we do still have heat on the ground across the way. We do have the unhook coming in, though, so interesting to see our team coming in for the unhook, not for the save here. But we are seeing Ace just standing there, giving the eye stare down, trying to assert dominance maybe, but instead pulling aggro. And now we're coming back over here to where we have a slug at.
And amazing that they have been on the ground long enough to draw that noise notification for that long and not moving. So, I mean, I think both sides have come to the conclusion that the head-on play. What is going on? We got deception. We got head-on. We got potentially a pallet save about to happen. What is going on?
Yeah, we are going to see, probably did a good job. Oh, I was going to say, defending the backside, but that's
goodness.
plus 10 wood to the face, and that's going to be a pallet save here by Arctic Wolves. And now they're just stunting out here.
Is it bad that I'm hoping that was a flip-flop play right there? Is that bad? Power struggle flip-flop?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, wait a minute. Who was that was just down on the ground? That was Heat. Loves Alex. We're going to have to check that out at the end because that would be amazing if that was the case and would make sense why you sit there until you get the sound notification, basically baiting the pickup, right?
Yeah, and I don't think I ever heard footsteps come up for that save, so I'm really expecting that's what that was.
And we are going to see here. Now, look at that bleed out timer, man. Talking about very little time We did have some footsteps coming in that time. Not sure. No, that was the ace who does indeed have the beamer in the hand. And we are going to see Ace just crouching in the corner there, showing his ass a little bit, trying to maybe pull a little bit of aggro. Instead, we do have the detective tap moving in with that borrowed time hit there. And we are going to see, again, body block coming in. I like to see that even though we're having a little bit of memeing, we do also have a little bit of mixture of some serious play at the same time, right?
No, absolutely. Like they're playing, you could see that the mechanics, the core mechanics are still in play. But as far as like the perks run are definitely memeable. Oh, and the moonwalk.
No!
Oh, you'll love to see it. I'm not gonna lie, I would have loved to have seen the down after the moonwalk, but hey, we'll take it what we can get right now.
Oh, the
But
insta karma, right? Like still getting down through
yes,
the window.
oh, absolutely. Poco strong with the Billy. But you know, I mean, we are seeing both sides are taking it for fun. Psycho going for some insane curves, without a doubt. I would have loved to have seen double engravings because that's how I play Billy. But much respect to both sides.
And now we are going to see generator number 4 coming in there here as well. So still being very on top as far as the objective. Also worth noting as we look around, our Arctic Wolves here have done a very good job as far as the spread on the generators. Able to make the window vault there, but we are going to see the down onto heat thanks to the Noed there. Flashlight being just a little too late. And ooh, a swing. Oh, a drop on the wrong side. That's going to be a snatch. And a point from Detective Tap seeing the grab there as well. Well, you love to see it.
I do expect that if Heat goes down one more time, that Heat will bleed out.
Yeah, I mean at this point, especially not going for the instant grab there, maybe might be why we saw the grab there. Yep, that's going to be the bleed out. Keep in mind the bleed out does mean you are not going to get rewarded for those last important 3 points there. And now we did see that No Way Out procs on the door not too long ago. We still have about 20 seconds left still here on No Way Out. But we are going to see, yeah, that was that deception play that you were talking about earlier from the Claudette. Indeed, that actually confirms that one. So we know for sure the deception was confirmed. We got to make sure we check Heat at the end to see if that was a power struggle.
Yeah, this match, I mean, even though they're running, you know, meme perks, they're still executing in this game right now. So even though it seems like right now Wow. Big whiffs right there for the Lord. Love to see it. Ugh.
And now we are going to see that door opening. And, ooh, curve around.
Trying it. I think they can hit this curve if they time it right, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, we did see the pre-drop, though, on the wrong side. And, of course, with the Noed there, that is going to be a down from Psycho there as well with a little bit of nodding here. And going to be seeing a little bit of celebration here. Wouldn't be surprised to see, yeah, Claudette just go ahead and take that escape across the way as well. And now at this point, just going to be securing up these slugs. It is going to be a nice performance. It is a meme performance, but it is still Arctic Wolves securing up the W here today with another really good for performance from them, not only on the 2 Survivor or the 2 Killer games, but even the 2 Survivor games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Arctic Wolves played really, really well. And even with this game, they still played well. They got the gems done. We're like, we could still do this and play around. But the Billy also had some incredible plays, had some good pressure early. But Arctic Wolves was like, okay, now we'll go ahead and finish them, get out. But great plays all around. And can we just talk about Solar at Killer? Can Solar be stopped?
Yeah, you know, Solar is, you know, a newer killer still too, right? Really coming into his own, but still nonetheless having very impressive performances, even back-to-back here today, and it was indeed power struggle, by the way. On Heat, I actually also see somebody in chat saying that there's a prompt in the top right-hand corner that I missed. I didn't know that it prompted the killer there, so really interesting to see some fun builds coming out while we're still seeing some good plays as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that fourth game, you know, that's what you want to see, right? Both sides have fun. Give the people just a show right at that point because the game's already decided. And that's what I think we got. We definitely saw, deception. We saw power struggle. We saw, buffoonery, and that's some of the best things. Meanwhile, still playing the game at a high level. I mean, those curves on that Billy. Oh, there were some that like had me grabbing my seat, like no way that's about to hit, and just barely missing. Like those hit, you're getting just hype as can be for those. So, how you want it to go?
Yeah, and it's funny because Billy is a killer. You talked about in that trial, we used to see as kind of one of those top tier killers, kind of got nerfed. But whenever you do see those really strong Billies happen to come out, and even though they're maybe not exactly the exact result you would have liked to see, because it was still a little bit of a meme game, but when you see the good Billies come out, nothing but respect for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I think if you're trying to go for curves with Billy, you need to run the dual engravings because you're able to curve so much better around things. Um, but, even then, like everybody gets hyped for a Billy snipe, right? Think about that. DBE, you see him, and everybody's out of their seats yelling. And in that one, there was a couple where Billy's going one way, then at the last second turns around, is going the other way, and almost catches, somebody running in the wrong area at the wrong time. So, Billy definitely invokes that high endorphin type of gameplay for sure. Um, so kudos to Psycho for pulling off like an exciting match.
And I am excited here because now we can talk about it. Now with the match being officially over, we're actually going to move into the interrogation room here, and we have a really, really fun guest. You mentioned it, a killer who has been a little newer on the scene, but has put up some impressive performances like we saw today. How are you doing on this beautiful, fine evening, Solar?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We just watched two really, really solid performances coming out from you on the killer side. That Freddy match, surgical. As I said, I made the pun, a nightmare for the other team, but legit, it was a solid play. You don't see Freddy's get that kind of pressure anymore. So, what was your game plan going into that match?
My game plan was to, get into a chase. I saw someone very early on, and I had a 3-gen top side and bottom side, and I think somewhat of a 4-gen top side. So my goal was to kind of keep them top side, but Zarina ended up running bottom side, which is okay because I still had that 3-gen up. And I was just going to play around that 3-gen. And what ended up happening was Quentin ended up coming for the 1-for-1 and running to my 4-gen. I was like, oh, I already have a 4-gen here. Might as well camp it.
Might as well, right? I mean, utilizing what the game gives you. With it being an RNG type game, sometimes you can't beat the RNG, right? But smart decision nonetheless, because it definitely played into your favor. Definitely did.
Yeah, it was a
So
very good match.
we have seen over the course of now 3 weeks in the regular season, a couple of preseason week games as well, seeing a lot tucked away in that bag of yours as far as on the killer side. We're seeing a nice wide range of diversity. Haven't really shown much as far as the meta side yet. I would imagine probably keeping those tucked away for when it matters most at the end of the season. But after, is there anything that you feel like coming off of such of these really big wins, is there something that you really want to take home to really drive home and solidify yourself as a killer in this league to make sure that people are keeping an eye out?
So as of for me, I practice everything a week beforehand. I'm always practicing new killers, what killers are good on certain maps. So I'm always practicing. I was practicing a lot of Freddy and decided to pull out the Evan because I thought it'd be good on that map.
And it worked out well for you, right?
Yeah, I ended up getting a lucky hit on that Zarina at that pallet.
Those hits, let me tell you. I'm sitting here like, I'm thinking, I'm like, I've been hit by a hit like that before. That's
Yep.
not a good feeling. That hurts. But you take advantage, you just keep going, right? Like, it is what it is, because I know you've probably been on the same side where you've been hit the same way and just like, well, I mean, it happens, I guess. But, well played, strong performance. And even on the survivor
Thank
side,
you.
like, y'all like played really well. Um, you know, coming in on that last game, was the entire just thought process, okay, let's see how many meme plays we can get here.
So we wanted the last match to be as fun as possible for both the killer and the survivor, to kind of say, hey, we enjoy you for being here and playing with us. We want to have one last fun match. So we just kind of went all out.
I appreciate it, because I personally am a big head-on gamer. So to see head-on brought in, to see
The power
the
struggle.
deception, oh, that power struggle, yeah. I mean, that I wish plays like that were more comp um mains, right? Because it's just obviously there's other perks that you'd rather run, but you would love to see more perks like that happen. You see people come in with the flashlights, you don't really see the save, so to be able to have that option to mess with the killer in a sense is always a fun time. So,
I know
but
Leatherface is really good with head on.
right. But one thing I will say, and even in the moments where you're in the lead and you're winning, a show of class coming from the Wolf Pack, saying that you want both sides to have fun and saying thank you for being here, really classy, I feel like, to come out and say.
We really appreciate people who, go up against us, and we want to make sure they have as much fun as possible while still playing competitively. Because at the end of the day, this is all for fun. We enjoy everyone that comes out and comes to see us. It makes us all very happy and excited. Gives us something to look forward to.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing, with comp, is that you want to see, and I said it earlier, during game, it's all about trying to get that win, but after the game, it's handshakes, high fives, and, we'll catch you next week.
Sportsmanship.
Yep, exactly. Enemies on the court, but off the court, GGs, and, you go about your days. But with that being said, do you have anything to say to your fans of the Wolfpack, the Arctic Wolves?
Just thank you to everyone. It's been a blast. I'm very happy seeing everyone grow, seeing myself grow, kind of practicing killers that I never thought I'd be practicing. It's been very fun.
So, one last question before we get you out of here, and court, is adjourned, of course. Who would you say is your least what used killer? Like, who's the one that you feel if you have to play them, you're gonna struggle?
Hillbilly.
If you feel
I am
Hill-
not afraid to say that I am very much hateful towards Hillbilly. I absolutely just cannot play him. You will never ever see me bring Billy.
That's funny. Some people would have been like, I'm good with all killers, not trying to give away your secrets, but to come out and say hillbilly, fair, understood.
I'm sure that means Solar, though, will be retreating to the lab and putting in some work to make sure that we get Billy, make sure that we help with the curve. Hey, let's go.
I had a good one. You had a good one, Q. I would love to see it. Well, Solar, I look forward to seeing more of your games. You've been playing out of your mind. I mean, what,
Thank
MVP
you
a couple
so
times
much.
already. So keep it up. Arctic Wolves are definitely out here showing what they can do. Wolfpack coming in strong. Shout out to four Dwights, one Locker. Played a really good game, but Arctic Wolves playing just a little bit better. And Solar, I'd hate to say it, but you're convicted of murder.
Yeah,
GG's, everyone.
GG's, buddy. All right, and that is going to wrap up as far as our night today. But with it being the holidays, we missed the day this week. We missed Thursday, which is normally a streaming day for us over here on Vigo. So that does mean that we do still have 2 more matchups tomorrow at both 5 p.m. Eastern Time as well as 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I know I can't wait.
Oh, we'll be back here. Just wait. I mean, you know it. We're going to be back. and I'm excited for the games. Always great games, always a great time. Q, thank you for being here with me today. It's been a pleasure. First day ever shoutcasting together, and I think it went swimmingly.
Yeah, we got the duo together finally, and it went well for sure.
Absolutely. So, as we said earlier, Arctic Wolves convicted of murder. We will see everybody tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some more competitive Dead by Daylight here at Vigo's Court. Court is adjourned.
Peace.